Now this is the home of the Shriver residence. Now Sergeant Shriver married Hyannis Kennedy, who was John Kennedy's sister, one of his several sisters. And I want to talk a little bit about the Shriver family history and why Nelson Rockefeller died young and a whole lot of things. I could speak a billion words, but... And this ties back to the day Kennedy was assassinated, too. Shriver was kind of like, I don't know all the history there. There's so much history here, but he was kind of like the civil rights guy in the Kennedy administration, or the Kennedy clan here. He was like their civil rights guy. And there's a lot of history, but Shriver, you might know Shriver, Maria Shriver. That was Eunice's daughter. She married movie actor Arnold Schwarzenegger, later governor. But they got a beautiful view here. I just want to pan this camera here. Just kind of bear with me. How's that? I just showed you their view. There it is. You can even see the S on the side of the chimney. There it is. S for Shriver. Well, here's the story. Now, let me talk to you a little bit more, and it ties to the day Kennedy was assassinated. Massachusetts Senator John Kennedy, when he was running for the White House, I think it was only could have been maybe a few weeks before the election, he made a 90-second phone call to Coretta King, MLK's wife. Well, MLK got jailed for being involved in protests, and the presidential candidate Kennedy talked to her for 90 seconds. It's been called the phone call that changed America, and he offered her. Basically, that's all he said. He said, if I can help you in a way, please get back to me. That was about all was said. And she well remembered his Massachusetts accent. And Bobby wasn't part of that decision to make that phone call. Bobby was almost his brother's keeper, and he was that part of it. It was Sergeant Shriver who encouraged the presidential candidate to make that phone call. And when Bobby heard about it, I guess he was livid. He thought that was going to destroy the election. Well, it turned out Kennedy got into the White House. I'll leave it just as that. There's been a lot of allegations. I don't need to go into it now because we're kind of living in a kind of a time here with misinformation, governance, and all that. I don't bring up anything about that too much anymore. But it created a little bit of a divide in the country. But what it did was, after that phone call, a lot percentage of black voters voted for Republicans because Abraham Lincoln was a pro-Republican. But after that, it switched a lot of black vote to the Democratic Party. Well, of course, in that days, the Democratic Party was a divided party. You had the Deep South Democrat Party, which were basically allied with the KKK. And then you had the Northern Democrats. The Southern Democrats are more aligned with Northern Republicans. And, of course, the Northern Democrats were anti-big oil, which made them anti-Rockefeller. See how the story starts to fit? Well, it created a rift. When Kennedy went to Dallas, one of his missions there was a rift between Ralph Yarborough, a liberal senator. He was part of a new and up-and-coming Southern, this I call a new breed, and Governor Connolly, who was from the old, deep, solid Democrat South. And there was a rift there, and Kennedy wanted to mend that rift. The rift probably was caused by that phone call. A lot of people were not happy with that phone. A lot of the Democrats in the Deep South were not happy by that phone call. And it was probably created the rift. And I mean, I think that's safe to assume. I don't think anybody would, get up in arms about me saying that. But when Johnson went to, Kennedy, that was his last order he gave to the Secret Service. He wanted John Connally and Ralph Yarborough, Senator Yarborough, Texas Senator Yarborough, to ride in the same car. And he wanted Johnson to ride with him. That was his last order he gave as a living human being. He gave to his Secret Service. Well, that never happened. Johnson was already at Love Field. Johnson was already in the car. The cars were already lined up. Johnson must have been, commandeering the whole thing. And he made Connally get in the presidential car, and he got back. He wanted Yarborough to ride with him. Well, apparently, the allegations are Yarborough was strong in his protest. He didn't want to be seen in the same car with Johnson. Well, you can see how deep the rift was with the old order. But Johnson either did two things: either threatened him on there, or either promised him the world. So Yarborough got in the car. Well, Kennedy, he went up to his car. Well, here's the senator, here's the governor of New York, governor of Texas. Well, he's not going to tell the governor, well, get out of my car. I'm sure Kennedy was going to have some words with Johnson. But Johnson knew Kennedy wasn't going to live much longer. And Johnson wasn't going to ride with Kennedy when he knew there was going to be gunplay. He knew he was all part of the plot. But that's an interesting piece of history there. And I hope you people from Massachusetts know that story about the phone that changed America and Ralph Yarborough. But I do want to talk more and more, and I want to point out something over here. I want to talk a little bit more about religion and the Kennedy assassination. And pardon me if this camera jiggles a little. Bear with me here. There it is right there. Yeah, see that tower with the flag? Like I say, Wolf hasn't really hit this area totally hard, but these people have really done well in capitalist America. But these are Protestants, though. It's a Protestant tower. Things have changed since 1963. I mean, I don't live here, so I don't know the complete demographics of this place and its racial and cultural makeup anymore. I don't know it. I guarantee you, 1926, when the Kennedys came here, it was solid Protestant money, old money. This was Pilgrim country, folks, Pilgrim country. But that is a Protestant tower. That's St. Andrew's Church. Well, St. Andrew's is the Protestant saint for St. Andrews is the saint of golf for the Protestants. Well, right to the left there is the Protestant golf course, Hyannis golf course. We're going to take a quick walk up there. I'm not going to try to basically embarrass anybody or anything. I'm just going to give you a quick look at how watch these little Protestants knock their golf balls around. But all your golf courses are all founded by Protestants. All your private restricted golf courses. Back in the day, they were restricted. No Kennedy belonged there back in 1926, I guarantee you. They were restricted. So if you got one black ball, you were out. And, I know a little bit about Protestant golf courses. Because my father, the Italian, he caddied for the Protestants. He caddied in the city of Arbor for the richest Protestants. We're going to go up there. I'm going to take you up Irving Avenue. I want to talk a little bit about a man named Charles Frederick Moore. See, I told you when the Rockefellers killed the Kennedy, they put together a massive roundtable that involved the Catholic Church and involved Connecticut Yankees, who most bigoted dynasty in the history of civilization. Of course, the Rockefellers married into the Hooker dynasty. Now, George Morenchid's, he was run by the Hooker dynasty. He was their business partner. We'll talk more about that. And of course, Ed Hooker was best friends for life with who? George Herbert Walker Bush, whose father was what? The senator from Kentucky. The senator from Connecticut. Mark Twain, these people hated Catholics. But Mark Twain wrote a book, a very telling book. He lived in Connecticut for a while. It was called The Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. It was anti-Catholic. You know, when I went to Catholic school, St. Mary's, we were not allowed to read anything from Mark Twain. I never understood that. Why that, you know? Didn't seem that, you know, Huckleberry Finn didn't seem that foreboding. But, you know, as I got older, I started learning. I actually read that book when I was in college. But now I understand. Babies are innocent. Babies are innocent. I was innocent. I was innocent for a long time. I was innocent for a long time. Although when I watched Ruby execute Oswald, the alleged assassin, I started questioning my government.